What's up, dude?
What's up, buddy?
It's been a while.
Has it?
I mean, well, I guess it's only been a week.
How you been, bud?
I've been good. How are you?
Dude, you know how it goes. Tiny Schmeat gang, just beating it.
Tiny Schmeat gang.
Yeah.
So anyway, what's new with you?
Same old, same old. Still got the pregnant lady, so still dealing with that.
Nice.
Yeah. She's pretty all right.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Mid-Tier Thoughts. It's just me and Mike today, and we've got some pretty cool stuff to talk about, some cool announcements to make. So first off, again, if you guys are looking for coffee, make sure you go to Blackout Coffee. Enter the code AUSTJ20 for 20% off of your first order for Blackout Coffee.
You said blackout?
Yeah, Blackout, not Black Rifle, Blackout.
Blackout.
Yeah, it's like just as good coffee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just as good as Black Rifle Coffee Company, but minus the sexual harassment.
That was actually my favorite part of the whole thing.
Did I remember reading that whole thing where like the guy that was suing him was like, yeah, I just walked into the office and the next thing I know, my boss is naked and gave me a hug. Like that's how that sexual harassment thing went down.
That's my favorite part of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why they're being such little bitches about
it. Smells like bitch in here.
Anyway.
But yes. Anyway, so yeah, as we all know, I think that unless you live under a rock or Amish, in which case you're probably not listening to this, we all know about the current events right now with Israel and Hamas, right? And everything that's going on over there in the Holy Land. And frankly, I'm just disappointed that we don't get to crusade anymore. So
it depends on who you ask. Because technically, me and the boys are going to head on over there with our big holy crosses and get this shit going.
Right? You're going to be like, they'll be like, oh, does it belong to Israel? Does it belong to Palestine? Be like, it belongs to the cross.
Excuse me, sir. This is Jesus' land.
Exactly.
And we're taking.
Dude, I've got a whole album of Crusader metal that I found on YouTube to listen to for battle music. It's going to be epic.
Oh my god.
Dude, yeah, I didn't know Crusader metal was a thing, and I'm very pleased. Imagine like like anytime you watch a Crusader movie and you have like the people like doing like holy chants in the background, like oh, like kind of stuff, right? But they're speaking Latin, except it's to the tune of death metal.
Just
it's amazing.
Screamo and guitar riffs.
It's just awesome. But yeah, so as we all know, like it's been a crazy thing. We're not going to get political on this. We're not going to go like support one side or the other because frankly, I don't fucking care who you support.
That's right, because we're racist. We hate Jews and those goddamn Middle Eastern. There's no winning side unless it's Caucasian, brother.
Says the only brown guy on the podcast. Like, I think you're everything but white, actually.
That's where you're wrong. I'm actually primarily white. Surprisingly.
Surprisingly.
Oh yeah, I'm 32%.
You're like, what's the name of Dave Chappelle's character?
The black supremacist or the
white supremacist dude who's blind.
Actually, I'm like 32% Scandinavian.
Well, call me a Swedish fish.
Right. After being 25% Japanese, 25% black, dude.
Yeah, that's a mix. But yeah, anyway, moving on with that. So we all know that like this has happened. And I think like kind of to beat a dead horse, a lot of people have talked about these. There's a lot of lessons learned here. For those who may not have been aware, Israel is probably one of the most heavily surveyed nations in the world. Like their like national industry is inventing defense and surveillance technology. They have some of the most extensive surveillance networks in the world. So call it conspiracy, call it whatever you want. Long story short, Hamas, which generally speaking is the military wing of the Palestinians for the Gaza Strip. Uh, they have a lot of outside training. They are somewhat organized. I wouldn't necessarily consider, like prior to this, I wouldn't have considered them like a professional military force. However, um, we've basically seen how someone who is basically living in a third world was able to outsmart, outmatch, and surprise a very formidable military, like a very strong military force, right? And that had this happened in any other country, I think we'd all, take the politics out of it. There'd be a lot more to like, people would be more open to just learning the lessons of the guerrilla force overpowering the main force. Learning a lot about this, and there's a dude out there on YouTube who you guys should check out who gives a really good videos on this called Ryan Macbeth, and he's an Intel dude now, and he kind of went step by step on basically how everything went out because they based off a captured op order that was found on a dead Hamas guy, right?
Yeah.
So they literally had dudes set up. I mean, they did so much for surveillance ahead of time. Like they've been planning this attack based on these documents for well over a year. And they had infiltrated people who were migrants into Israel who were working and just doing a normal job and collecting normal information. Like, oh, where do you do this? Where do you do that? Just acting buddy buddy. It wasn't like super secret spy networks. It was like get a job at a warehouse, make friends with the people at the warehouse, talk to people at the warehouse, go to drink, get good drinks with people at the warehouse. Whatever, like just normal stuff, right? And then one day, boom, and I mean, they took out all of the cameras, all of the people. They knew exactly where they would be for every one of the surveillance stations that would have been able to like call ahead, basically, like all the early warning systems. They disabled everything. So like part of the reason why there was no response for because Israel's not a very large country and it's heavily militarized. The big reason there wasn't as quick of a response as most people expected. The official story, anyway, there's plenty of theories out there. The official story was that basically they killed everybody that was going to respond. They overwhelmed them with numbers, firepower, and violence. And so I think there's a lot of lessons there that can be learned from a military aspect of like how to conduct certain types of operations. Obviously, from a Minuteman standpoint, you do not want to be involved with, massacres or genocide, right? Take that as you wish on whichever side you want to put that on. But those are generally bad things to stay away from. However, the military aspect side of that, I think, is really interesting to look at, especially to see, a lot of people are out there being like, oh, this might have been a conspiracy that, they just let it happen so they could go to war. Could be. The other side of that coin, though, is everyone's like, oh, how could they possibly have had such a huge intelligence failure? And it's like, have you ever worked for the government?
Yeah.
Any government? Ever? Like, they're not perfect. It's like on one hand, we sit there and we talk about like how like crappy governments are, and then something bad happens, and we're like, how could this perfect government system have failed?
Where's our government?
It must have been a conspiracy. And it's like, or just the incompetent people are still incompetent.
Yeah.
Like the people that suck still suck. They're just unfortunately as working as decision makers. But I mean, you look at like insane tactics. I mean, dude, who would have thought paragliders or, whatever you got like, yeah, is it paragliders, the ones with the motors? Is that what they're called?
Yeah. Those are the paragliders.
Yeah. Like who would have thought paragliders would have been used as a military technology?
I saw it coming. All right.
You're like, I've been talking about this for years. I've got 6 paragliders right now.
I've been bringing it up. No one paid attention to me.
Yeah. I mean, like, it really does bring out like an interesting question, that like, if in that kind of use, if you could get a good number of dudes and need to travel a certain amount of distance quickly, I mean, the biggest thing about them, everyone's like, oh, how could their missile defense system miss this? And it's like, well, the missile defense system is designed on something with a massive thermal signature that's traveling like hundreds or thousands of miles an hour at high altitude.
Yeah, extremely high altitude.
Yeah, this is a dude going at best 100 tops, probably way less, and way lower. This is basically the radar equivalent of a man flying a kite.
Yeah.
Yeah. even if
They're
it
in the
picked it
same.
up, even if it picked it up, right? I don't know what the laws are over there, but I would imagine it would be very much like, oh, it's just some dudes out here paragliding. You know, like what? Who is your first thought going to be like? Oh, we're being invaded.
100%. I see
Now,
paragliders on site.
dude, like right now, every FUD in the country is like, I told you, a 28-inch barrel 12 gauge is the way to go.
Brother.
Brother, I'll tell you right now that them Hamas boys come down here to Mississippi. I got a 28-inch 12 gauge my grandfather gave me. I got 6 rounds of buckshot in that boy, and I'm ready to fight.
I'll light that boy up right now.
Right. I'm waiting now actually for all the YouTube people to just start doing like, can you shoot down a paraglider with an AR-15? Like I'm ready for Garand Thumb to just start doing that.
Why I be in the skies?
Yeah. I think that actually would be a pretty dope video. But yeah, you know that they did things like that. Another one, Hamas released a video talking about like how they got so, because everyone was like, dude, how'd they get 5,000 rockets? They literally showed a video of these guys going out, finding steel water pipes, right? Cutting out sections of these water pipes, taking them back to warehouses, and then like sprucing them all up, cleaning them up, spraying them down, making the rocket bodies, melting nose cones, mixing together the explosives necessary. I mean, like they basically, they literally handmade, they DIY'd rockets.
Yeah, and they were good at it. They worked. They're effective.
Yeah, I mean, they were effective, you know, and they got to where they were doing, and they thought outside of the box with that. And the biggest thing there, again, is like not to be not to underestimate this. Like, I am not. I mean, I think Hamas is in the wrong here. I'll just say that, but for sure, I don't think they're good people. But
Really?
you know, me.
Yeah.
Really, I'm not a big
You
fan. I
talk
mean,
about all those girls on Instagram and everything that say that Hamas is a good guy. They're just taking their land back. Is not
you know, I mean, I just there I go again with my male privilege.
honestly.
So
That's what it is, bro.
yeah,
You
it's my
should
cultural
relate with
appropriation.
you
It's my
should relate with
colonizer.
the white women that have purple hair that are queer that Hamas totally represents.
Yeah, you know, see, that's the other thing. I do have to say this, and I don't give a shit if this is being hot water because people have listened this far, they'll listen again. That if you're like, I mean, I don't understand like all the support for Hamas. I can understand people being like, man, I support the Palestinian people because there's a lot of controversy going back and forth with what Israel and Palestine. I understand people's argument. I can understand if you're worried about the people in Palestine, but like Hamas is a straight up terror group.
Yeah, that's what they.
Like just straight up. Like Hamas was chanting death to America on 9/11. Like I don't care about Hamas. Like I mean that's like saying like you can care for the people of Iraq, you can care for the people of Afghanistan. But you don't have to support the Taliban. You don't have to support ISIS. You know,
Yeah.
like you can separate the two. You can be like, man, I really sucks. All the you know innocent civilians are going to get caught up in the way of war. Like that's the tragedy of war, and it really sucks that that's going to happen. And like my heart goes out to those people, but you don't have to pick a side like militarily. You can dislike both governments, you know, or one or the other.
Yeah.
So I don't understand like when people are like, oh yeah, these people who flew in and murdered a bunch of people at a concert and just started massacring people.
They need my
I'm with
support.
them. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's like weird. I remember like when Russia did that in February, and everyone freaked the fuck out, like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whenever they've invaded, right? And the Russians literally did the exact same thing as far as like coming in and just shooting the place up, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, they're Hitler."
I stand with Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand. Um, you know, but
You never will.
yeah, it is what it is. You know, people got their own ideas, and I'm not going to change their minds on this. But I think from a military aspect of like a military operation, right? There's a lot of lessons to be learned there. You know, because the biggest thing too is like people didn't see this coming, right? Which
Yeah,
means people
whatsoever,
were talking about it. You know, like people didn't talk like the intel and the operational security behind this pretty solid.
Yeah.
You
They
know, and
planned
again,
it.
like Yeah, absolutely. Like, well, that was the thing. So this guy Ryan Macbeth, I was watching this video and he was breaking down this op board they'd found. I mean, like these guys had information on, exactly what units were stationed in what parts of the country, what kind of hardware they had, what not only like what APCs did they have, what type of the APC, what variant, where were the weak points, where are the strong points, what's the best way to take one out with an RPG or like a homemade shape charge. Like they knew and researched all of this, which again goes back to like from a Minuteman standpoint, like there's a huge emphasis, I think, on intelligence gathering that we don't really see a lot because everyone wants to have like a sexy plate carrier and be like, dude, I'm so like GI Joe'd out, I'm sick and ready to go. And then we have no idea where we're going though, but we know we're going to go somewhere and we're going to go somewhere fast and we're going to go somewhere hard. But it's like, great, but what's going to be there when you get there and where are you going?
Yeah.
Because if these dudes had just been like, oh, we're going to blow a hole in the fence and just charge through and see what happens, right? It probably would have been way less successful than it was. Like this was a very well thought out, like they attacked on a holy day. They knew people weren't going to be there. They knew they attack at a certain time. They knew the forces they were going up against. They knew exactly where the cameras were, exactly where the people would be stationed, exactly when turnover was. Like these guys had planned everything out. And again, you know, it's not like they were doing this against a third-rate nation. They've been doing this against the Israeli military, which is pretty battle hardened.
They've been around
Since
for a while and they've been training for a long time.
Well, since 1948, I think they've had like 12 or 13 official wars and like another 10 border conflicts. Like they've basically been at peace for like 12 minutes.
Yeah, they're always at war.
Yeah, like I mean, and that's when people are like, "Oh man, this is it. This is going to be the destruction of Israel." I'm like, do you guys understand that like this tiny little nation, like politics, religion aside, right? Just from a military standpoint, these dudes have literally not lost in 70 years, and they've had military conflicts where they have been outmanned like by like 7 other nations, and they've kicked ass every time.
Oh yeah, they're gonna make it through.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like we just had to address the elephant in the room there and just kind of put out a little bit there. I think that like I am actually kind of like seriously thinking about like what kind of applications like a paraglider type of thing would have on a Minuteman type scenario. Like I think it would be actually a decent thing for either like types of recon or just like they did, moving people rapidly from point A to point B, right? At a low level area to where we don't really have anything like designed for that. Like another thing that they were talking about in this Ryan Macbeth video I thought was interesting. So they had recoilless rifles, which were like they're basically I think they're like 70 caliber. I think I don't know something big. It's basically like it's literally a giant tube, like an old school World War II bazooka, right? But it's a giant tube on a tripod that you shoot at like 50 to 100 yards at a tank, right?
Really?
Now, yeah, and they were talking about like the effectiveness of this, right? Well, basically, again, like modernity has moved away from certain threats because those threats aren't common in modern militaries, right? Like, what are you going to take? What are you going to fight a tank with in a modern military? Probably some type of javelin missile or some like pimped out RPG, right? Not a weapon from 1950. So addressing the threat of the weapon from 1950, right, it isn't even in your thought process because you're like, no one has these, right? Well, they did. And it turns out they were fairly effective against some of the armored personnel carriers because the reactive armor didn't react in the right way. So what was happening? Like they were actually able to take out a couple of Merkava tanks with these, and it's like, the whole idea is like they've gone so far advanced in technology that they just weren't even worried. I mean, it would be like being like, oh, we need to plan for getting hit by a cannonball. You're like, oh, no, I'm not worried about that. No one's going to hit me with a cannon. And then your weapon system fails because you get hit by a cannonball.
And it's just
Yeah, you're just like, son of a bitch. What did Jimmy know?
How'd you guys know that?
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of lessons to learn. I think as this conflict grows, we're going to start seeing a really like one of the things I think like that's the biggest part to take away from this that I think a lot of people in Western nations, which is a majority of our audience, needs to learn. and needs to watch is that Eastern countries, both Palestine and Israel being Eastern countries, fight war in a way that the West has not fought in a long time. Uh,
Yeah.
we in the West generally like to have types of rules. There are certain people and things that are off limits. There are certain people and things that can be targets and others that will not. Like generally, we try not to, like, obviously it happens. It's a war. We can look at Afghanistan and Iraq to see that it happened, but we try to limit the casualties to civilians as much as humanly possible, right?
We do, yeah, we
There's
do a pretty decent job of doing that.
absolutely. And we have even, to our own detriment, followed very closely to international rules of war, even to the as far as, again, kind of fighting war with our hand behind our back. With I think some of like the ROE that we had in Iraq and Afghanistan at certain points where you couldn't fire unless they had a weapon in their hands. And so what would the bad guys do? Shoot at you, drop the weapon, run into a crowd. Now they don't have a gun in their hands,
Yeah,
right? Now you can't shoot them.
kind of smoke them.
Right. So now like there's a certain type of warfare that like that type of mentality is very Western. In the East, like they're Old Testament, dude. They are very much like come into a village, wipe it out. There is
Yeah,
no
if you're part of my enemy, you are my enemy.
yeah, like they are in the business of erasing bloodlines. In the Old Testament in the Bible, there's a part there's multiple times actually where the Israelites are either told by God or for one reason or another to go into certain areas and kill every living thing, right? And
Mhm.
they still fight like that. I mean, not just Israel, like the whole area, like that. It is a brutal type of war that is very it's very brutal. It's very bloody, and the West I don't think is very used to that. And I think we're going to see in the coming days as things kind of escalate, like a type of warfare that we're not used to, that we kind of forgot about.
It's going to be scary. Is what it's really going to be. It's going to be terrifying, man.
Oh yeah, and I know there's one of the things that I think is interesting too. I was actually listening to a guy who made a good point where he was talking about Iran was talking. They were talking about like, oh, Iran potentially backed Hamas, and there's some other potential supposed evidence that China may have been involved, right? With like China funded Iran or China gave stuff to Iran for Iran to give to Hamas, and the idea being, if we've pledged support to Israel, we've already pledged support to Ukraine. Divide us on multiple fronts, and then China can take Taiwan.
Yeah.
Which again, terrifying. And the thing is, all these people in DC, all these people in Washington, they're all these war hawks, and they're like, oh man, yeah, we could take a like I heard Lindsey Graham, the Republican Lindsey Graham said two things that just terrified me as far as like how the fuck are you leading us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know I said I wasn't going to get political. This is like the meme where it's like me 3 beers later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lindsey Graham literally goes on TV and he's like, we should bomb Iran. And they're like, I'm sorry, say what? And they're like, with no evidence. They're like, no, it's like Iran funded Hamas. They're like, yeah, but there's no evidence. And he's like, we should bomb Iran. Like, so you're suggesting we should bomb Iran with no evidence that they did anything worth being bombed over? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And the thing about that is, so then like he said something like that, and then he was like, they're like, do you really think the United States is in a position to fight a global war right now, like on multiple fronts? And he goes, well, my grandfather, one of them fought in the Pacific, and another one fought in Europe. And I hate it, like when boomers do this, right? Where they're like, oh, well, we won World War II. Like, do you realize how many people died in World War II and how often?
Do you realize that has nothing to do with the subject we're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, do you realize the type of war that we're talking about? If you want to do that, like we haven't fought a conventional war against a conventional military, like an actual straight up military to military fight since World War II. And when we fought World War II, we lost a ton of people. Like overall, the world, like someone did the math on it, and it was like for every year of World War II, 1,000 people died every hour.
Yeah, and the actual carbon emissions went down.
Yeah, I mean, they literally killed enough people to reverse global warming.
Yeah, there was literally in the thing, like you could see the carbon go down from how many people died.
Which, again, like that's the thing that gets me is I'm like, if everyone keeps talking like we're going towards it, and like one of the memes I saw was they were like, oh, they put white guys back in the military recruiting commercials. We're going to war.
We're going to war. It's happening.
Someone was like, yeah, I just watched an army commercial and it's a bunch of straight white dudes. We're for sure going to war.
Pack your bag.
And the thing I think about that is it's like, I think when I see that kind of thing, it just worries me because I don't think people are ready for what that looks like. I mean, like think about what was it last August, or yeah, August 2021, 2022, whenever we pulled out of Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Was that was 2022, right?
2022, yeah.
Yeah, or no, it's 2022.
That's what I said.
But yeah, anyway, whatever year it was. I'm sorry, I get my years all mixed up, dude. I'm getting old. Um, we had 13 guys die, which is tragic, absolutely tragic, and 100% preventable, right? But that was only 13. Imagine what happens when we lose a carrier strike group in the South China Sea. And it like headline says 8,000 dead.
I don't think anyone's ready for that news, dude.
Like
I don't think anyone's actually truly ready.
Like that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Is like all these people who are like, oh yeah, we could do it, we could take them, and it's like, dude, I don't think you're ready. Like I don't think you understand like the massive numbers of people. On top of that, like the other thing about like these boomers keep forgetting is like in World War II, when we got hit by Pearl Harbor, everyone joined. Like I think the official number of people in the I think the official number of people that joined the military in the United States was somewhere like 13 million. It was like 10% of the population.
Yeah, all joined, all wanted
Yeah,
to fight.
people killed themselves because they couldn't go. There were literally cases of dudes they were like, dude, you got flat feet or like some kind of medical condition, right? Like you got a bad heart, like you can't go. They killed themselves out of shame. Like we don't have that now.
We definitely do not have that now.
No, I mean it would be.
I mean, they'll kill themselves, but like not.
Yeah, just that they do that because we denied their transgender surgery. But they do it even more if we approved it. That's the
dicks.
that's the dark joke of reality. But yeah, dude, like it's crazy, man. Like I don't think that there's many people think about that, and I think that's the part that worries me a lot about seeing a lot of this, and everyone's kind of just. It's one of those things like you look around, especially on social media, and everyone's just kind of like, "Yep." It's like that scene from The Emperor's New Groove. It's like we're about to go over a waterfall. Yep. Shark rock at the bottom, most likely. Bring it on. I think we're all just kind of at that point. We're like, dude, it's the waiting that kills me. Like, just fucking do it or not. All right, just
come on. I have dinner tonight. Let's go.
Yeah, you're like, if you're gonna fucking drop the nukes, just do it, dude. Just let me know what cities they are. So I'm not even gonna try to leave. Just let me know. Like, is my city on the list? Yes or no?
I just want to know if I should go into work tomorrow or not.
Exactly. I saw a thing today, and it was like how I treat the world, like the craziness of the world's problems. It was like, do I have to go to work tomorrow? Yes. Doesn't matter. No.
That's what we're dealing with right now, though.
Then he's like, no, and then it goes down to, do I still have to pay rent? Yes. Doesn't matter. No. This might be a problem.
This might be the one. This might be serious.
Yeah, man. I think it's rough times ahead, unfortunately. But enough of the Debbie Downerness, I guess.
Dude, rough times make hard people, right?
What was that?
Rough times make hard people, right?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty hard, so.
Hard, baby. Don't tell me fucking damn.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, as soon as I saw like, oh hey, we're sending a strike carrier strike group over to the Middle East.
Not again.
I was like, I've seen this before. I've seen how this plays out. Can we not?
It's Throwback Wednesday.
Dude, I just wonder how much Zelensky feels like a bitch right now. He's just like, you cheating bastard.
You guys didn't care about me like you said you did.
Like, I haven't heard shit about Ukraine in weeks. And then all of a sudden, like, Israel pops off. And I was like, because that's the other part, too, is it's like, man, did y'all just, like, realize you used up, like, no one gave a shit about Ukraine anymore? And so you're like, quick, find something.
That's where my conspiracy theories come in, dude.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I 100% have some unhinged conspiracies about this stuff, but like I haven't. I'm waiting on some more info.
You're waiting on support.
I'm waiting on no. I'm waiting on some more info. Like I feel like I need to get some more facts together, but things definitely look fishy.
Oh, 100%, dude.
Yeah, it's like, that's weird. Like World War III right before an election.
Very convenient of you.
Yeah, it'd be a shame if we had to suspend those elections due to emergency something or other.
Because the world is ending. Ooh.
Yeah, which, dude, at this point, I think all of us like literally just stopped caring. You know,
Yeah.
I like the government literally admitted that aliens exist, and we were like, okay, and
Are they going to pay my bills?
yeah, like that's the funniest thing I think about like with movies is they're like, oh, like the Men in Black, whatever, like anything else like that, like people couldn't handle the truth, and we told them like, people just panic and freak out, or like anytime in the movies when like there's some kind of crazy thing going on, like why don't we warn the people? We're like, we don't want to incite a panic, and I'm like, that's such a Hollywood bullshit thing because like right now you could literally tell me that like a giant asteroid's headed for Earth and we have 3 days to live, and you'd be like, well, I'm just not going to work tomorrow.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like that's about the extent of how much I'm going to freak out over that. Because it's like at this point I'm just desensitized.
Yeah, everything's like coming to the end in my world over now, dude. It's
Yeah,
like it's always ending. It's always like on fire. It's just a
yeah.
constant fucking go.
It's like it's like it makes me wonder sometimes, like if you look back at different periods of history, like maybe like the Roman Empire, if everyone living in Rome was like, yeah, man, things are kind of going to shit like all the time. This sucks. Like, yeah, empire's collapsing, barbarians are at the door. Well, I still got to pay my Roman money to my Roman landlord. So I'll see you in the fields tomorrow, boys.
So doesn't really change anything about my day.
Yeah, have an ale on me. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's just a wild time. I think I'm really tired of living in like, oh, this has never happened before. Like, oh man, this is a historic time. And it's like, dude, it's been like 6 years. Can we relax on the historic precedent? Like, can we just have one year that's like boring as hell?
It's not very historic.
Yeah, like I just want one year where it's like nothing happened. Like, what was the most exciting thing? Like the team won the sport. That was it.
Yeah, take you back to 2016. That's the last time that was a thing.
Dude, we didn't know how good we had it, man. We had no idea. I look
Well,
back. I look back at like 2014 me, you know,
yeah.
or like 2013 me, just chilling in the barracks, eating some Taco Bell, hanging out at the Liberty Center, going out with the boys every now and then, just chilling, man, just having a good time. Life was, shooting a Mosin, like just not caring, just having a time of my life, thinking like, oh man, I mean, it is what it is. And now I'm sitting here. I'll be 30 on the 24th. And I'm like, cool. So man-made horrors beyond my mortal comprehension are now a daily part of my existence.
So that was, I have to put up with that. That's the only
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, it's like it doesn't even surprise me anymore. Like it's like that thing you see on like TikTok or on right now, where it's like if aliens came down from space and we're here to overthrow your government and install a different one. You're like, sick. How can we help?
Nice.
Sweet. Let me keep my guns and do what you want. I don't care. Knock
really don't care. I just want to keep my fucking AR-15 to keep my family safe. Is that okay?
That's like you ever notice in like sci-fi movies whenever the aliens come down, like they're always like a unified society. You never and they never have clothes. You never notice that? They're like we're like the only species that's developed clothes.
Well, maybe it's a titty thing. Maybe that's why they're all pretty like having a good time.
But I mean, like even not that. I mean, it's just like a warmth and like protection thing. Like why is it that we're like super advanced aliens will have like these giant motherships, grow crops, things like this, no clothes. Space lasers, no clothes, butt naked. Like I feel like somewhere along your evolutionary process that would have been like, hey, we should have developed pants.
Nah, why?
I don't know, protection from the elements.
Nah, that's why they give us skin.
I mean, see, it just seems dumb. I mean, I don't know. I just for me, it's just like you invented a time like a machine to travel across time and space, destroy worlds, but you skipped pants.
Didn't need him, dog. We got.
Yeah, just skipped right over that one. Just nope, no need. We're good. But like also they're always like this like unified society. They're like, oh, we just evolved past that. And you're like, bullshit. Get the
Yeah,
fuck out of here.
you guys fight. Don't fucking
Yeah,
lie.
yeah, you're clearly a warring species. You just killed everybody else.
Yeah, you guys just won. You're the Caucasians of space.
Yeah. Dude, what if aliens come down and it's just a bunch of white people?
You ever see that one comedian where he made fun of it, where he's like, aliens are just black people that they're just black people in space, and that's what they just left their people here.
They just went to go get milk and they
Dude,
never came back.
it was so funny.
Dude, like I'm just imagining like the Bob and Nance meme, like you just like the spaceship lands, it's all eerie, all the soldiers are surrounding it, like in the movies, everyone's got their guns out, tanks are like point blank range, right?
Mm-hmm.
The door opens and here just comes Bob and Nance.
Where you guys been?
He's like, "Oh, you guys got some peanut butter? I can't deal with that spicy stuff." He's like, "You guys want to go to Chili's?"
It's Dollar Rita night.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, it's funny. Like every time we talk on these things, for those listening at home, I always have one of my firearms near me. Generally, like one of my rifles or shotguns, and I'll it's always empty and it's clear and safe, but I'll be like fiddling with it in the background. And I felt really bad because on my last episode I couldn't edit it out, and there's absolutely like a solid 3 minute period of me just doing dry reloads with a W3. Yeah, you just hear chick chick click chick click click. You just hear me racking it and popping mags in and out, and I felt so bad because I was like, oh man, I can't do any of that. like I can't take any of that out. So for those listening, that was a treat for you.
Just for
Um,
you.
yeah, yeah, man. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like the world ahead is kind of a scary place, but you know, it is what it is. It's like I feel like I'm kind of just desensitized to it now.
Yeah, honestly, it just we've gotten to the point as a society that we're just like accepting of it, of like the crazy shit going on a constant basis.
Like, yeah, it's like when I read the stuff about like the Hamas thing, like first happening, I was like, oh my gosh, oh okay, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Like it was like that fast, It was like, oh, add that to the list.
Of shit going down right now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what else can you do? At this point, you're like, okay, I've lived through supposedly the mega death plague, um, economic collapse. Come to the realization that I'll probably never own a home. The economy is collapsing around us. Gas is in most places is either at or approaching $5 a gallon. Uh, Food is becoming more and more unaffordable. So yeah, like this is kind of the least of my concern.
Yeah. What else? What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like, all right, man. Oh, on top of that, for everyone listening, I hope you stocked up on ammo. And no,
Yeah.
that's not a nice segue for an ammo sponsor. I wish it was. I really wish we had an ammo sponsor. I would ask for one, but I don't think there's going to be any here soon. For those unaware, Lake City Ammunition, which is the manufacturer of all of the United States military small arms ammunition and potentially some of the larger arms ammunition as well as a lot of like Winchester's ammo, I believe, no longer doing commercial business. Like they're no longer fulfilling commercial orders, which means one, ammo shortage, two, prices going up, and three, we're for sure going to war.
Oh yeah,
when, when the
100%.
when Lake City has to be like, hey, we literally can't sell to the public anymore. We need as much ammo as humanly possible. That means one of two things. We're sending it all to somewhere else, like to Ukraine or Israel. Or two, we already sent all of our ammo over there. It got used up, and we realized, hey, we're going to war soon. We need a lot of ammo. And on top of that, the Hornaday plant had an explosion that killed a guy. So I think at this point, it's like AAC and Federal are like the only places right now that are not destroyed.
Yeah, that aren't going through a fucking crisis.
Yeah, so if the world wasn't terrible enough, then yeah, you need to go stock up on ammo. So I'm pretty sure the title of this episode is gonna be something like just Doomer chat.
It's over. We're done.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, but that's that you got to take the good with the bad. You just got to ride it out. We'll make it through. We'll be all right. All the dumb people will die, hopefully. They usually tend to be the first ones to go. I think once we stop having warnings on items and you have to like forage for stuff, people will just start dropping off. Like, what do you mean you can't drink antifreeze? I don't understand.
I'm immediately just gonna start wasting people. I'm letting you know now. If you're on my team, let me know. I'm letting
I
you know right now. I'm immediately just start wasting people.
I don't remember if you worked with if you worked with the same guy, but I remember at sharpshooting one of our coworkers. He was like, "Yeah, man." At the gun shop we used to work at, he was like, "Yeah, man." I asked him, was like, "Hey, what would you do right now?" It's like EMP type thing, like like you wake up, is or like you're at home, you're chilling because it's like right after you get off work, it's like 9:30 at night, power goes out, car's dead, phone's dead, like all the signs of an EMP. He's like, and he lived at the time this guy lived in a fourplex. He's like, I'm immediately killing my neighbors, all of them.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He's like kicking down the door, boom, 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 boom. He's like, I hate all of them. They're all a liability. And I was like, dude, that's gonna wind up happening. Because like, you're to do that, it's just be like a freak power surge. You forgot to charge your phone and your battery died. Like, you to go in there, commit 6 felonies, and then just like the lights come back on. You're like, damn it.
Shit.
But
I'm
yeah,
down with that though. Let's just start wasting people, bro.
yeah, dude, that's the thing, man. Like, if you're in a major city like that, like, good luck to you, dude. Yeah, well, like the area you're at over there. I mean, I don't blame you. Where I'm
Uh,
at,
I'm, I'm not too worried about it, honestly.
yeah. I mean, you're not too. You are in kind of an area that's a little further away from it, but still
Yeah,
just not the
the area
best.
I live in is more of like a Spokane size area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. Spokane's gone the crap too, man. If anyone that's listening to this in the Pacific Northwest, you know what I'm talking about. And I want to know too, like, kind of across. Like, I know we've got some international listeners as well as people across the country. Like, have you noticed the area that you live in? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Like, for example, the area I lived in, Washington, has gone down huge, like just gone downhill in the last 5 years. And the area I live at now in Idaho, everyone who's not from here has moved here from somewhere else to get away from that decline. So my area is getting people understand like the benefit of living here. So I'm curious for you guys listening, like what's going on in there? Like, do you notice generally being better and improving, or is I
Yeah.
think across the board, a lot of people kind of feel the same that like crime has gone up, which also a lot of this kind of goes back to the economy, right? A crappy economy equals more crime. But crime has gone up, food prices have skyrocketed, gas has skyrocketed, things are getting harder to find. Even if you have a job, it's not paying enough to fulfill everything. Um, and unfortunately, like employers can't keep up with the wages necessary a lot of times to be able to afford to pay everybody through that. So a lot of people are getting 2 or 3 jobs or doing stuff on the side or finding out what they got to do. And I think realistically, a lot of us in our generation are going to have a lot more in common with our grandparents or great grandparents than we will with our parents growing up, depending on how old you are. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is like my grandparents were children during the Great Depression and kept, they never threw anything away. They knew how to get by with very little. My grandmother knows how to make some really good food with not a whole lot of ingredients. And, that's just the way they grew up, is not having anything and how to reuse things. And, for example, she cooks, she saves the bacon grease. My grandmother saves the bacon grease after she cooks bacon, right? Because you can save that and use it to cook with later, right? As like lard or oil and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a simple example of things that a lot of people don't do. They generally just dump the oil out, right? Or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think you're going to start seeing a lot of those skills become more popular. I mean, like you can already see like amongst our age group, there's a huge push of people to do homesteading. And I think a lot of that, again, is we're going to have generationally a lot more in common, I think, with some of our great grandparents and grandparents than we will with our parents' generation. I
Yeah.
think the sad thing of it, I think, is realistically, which it really sucks that I have kids to think about this, is I think that most people born in the 90s and even the early 2000s, we are seeing like we were born at the end age. You know,
At
the
the end of
Soviet
what?
Union had collapsed at the end of a golden age. Like the Soviet Union had collapsed. Um, we didn't really have a strong enemy to fight, against us. We had a few years of like America and America only. We're on top. I mean, we were also young enough to not really care about the horrors that were going on in the world, but there weren't any going on, compared to now. And we got to come across from the pre-internet, like not the pre-internet, but the pre-cell phone and like early internet days, and kind of grow up with it. So we still have some of the skills from before tech being real big, and we still have a lot of them after. We still know how to talk to people. And I sound like a boomer, dude.
You're booming it up right now,
I
bro.
know, I know. I'm like, just wait for me to start recommending shotguns and 22s. To get my group on, dude. Actually, speaking of that, funny note, I was just talking to a buddy of mine where I was like, dude, I'm so glad I have a 22 caliber conversion bolt for my AR because, with prices of ammo going up, like that's definitely something I think people should invest into. Which, if anyone is looking for one, I highly recommend the CMMG conversion kit. Like it's literally just a drop-in bolt with magazines. You can get like 3 magazines and the drop-in conversion bolt. I think for like 200 and some odd bucks. They may have gone up in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they're probably more now.
Yeah, I'll have to check on that. I think they're like 200-300 bucks maybe. But yeah, they're not bad, and it's cheaper than buying a complete new upper. You literally just swap out your bolt. They work fantastic. I have thousands of rounds through mine, and the best part is I'm like super FUD when it comes to 22, and I think I've probably got close to like 20 or 25,000 rounds of 22.
Damn, dude.
I have two 30 caliber ammo cans like full to the brim of loose 22 and then more in boxes. Like,
There's more to come.
ammo, like with some people with ammo are like super like, oh, this is Winchester white box, this gray and subsonic. No, I'm just 22 goes in the bucket.
Dude, 22 is 22, comrade.
Yeah, exactly. It goes in the bucket. Oh, speaking of comrade, they make steel case 22?
No, but I need to get some now.
That is like the sketchiest thing ever. Some dude brought some in one time. Oh, it's like at the range you and I used both to work at. I think it was before you started there. We generally try to check ammo, but like if someone tells us they have 22, like we never check it because we're not worried about reloads and who's going to shoot steel case. We didn't even know steel case 22 existed, right?
Yeah,
Until this
I
dude
did.
comes in and he's like, I'm having malfunctions. We're like, malfunctions? Dude, you're shooting a 22 revolver. How are you even a malfunction, right? And we take it out there and we're like, holy crap, how do you have steel case 22? Not only is it garbage, it's more expensive than normal 22.
So
I
he
was like,
went and found
you
it.
fucked up twice.
How did you find this?
Yeah, it's wild, man. I don't get it. I don't understand how people do that. It's like how'd you mess up that bad? So
I get it. It's amazing. He didn't mess up. That's God's caliber right there.
that's kid. There ain't nothing alive that ain't been killed by a man with a 22.
Ain't nothing on this earth, brother.
Hey, so speaking of little side note here, I guess we'll kind of detract from some of the sadness. We're in our doomer phase. The was watching a video today. Interesting little side note for people listening. So it was a video on 2 units in the modern day that still use surplus rifles as their main armament, like actual military units, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. So up until 2015, there's a group of people called the Canadian Rangers. And basically what they did is they take all the people that lived way up north, like a lot of the local Indian tribes and, other people too, that live super deep up north. And they're like, hey, here's a bunch of surplus infields. Go make sure the Russians aren't snooping around in our woods. And that's literally it. They just walk around the snow. And the thing was they needed a rifle that could operate in up to negative 50 and could take out a polar bear. And so they went with the infield and they used it up till 2015.
That's fucking horrible.
Dude, I was like, I was like, dude, that's insane. And then like this other one was the Danish have a group to where like I think they still own Greenland, or Greenland might be independent now, but like they had
Yeah.
basically like a similar type of deal where they had like legit like in 2023 they still have dudes up in Greenland on dog sleds, and they do like 4 week patrols, and it's just like the super elite unit to be able to get into. It's super hard to get into, and you just go patrol Greenland, the north of Greenland, on dog sleds all year long, and they're packing P-17s, which is basically a Springfield '03 modified, and
Mhm.
it has a 6 round magazine. And they were like, yeah, they had carried those in SIG P210s until they realized that like 9mm doesn't do fuck to a polar bear. So they switched to Glock 20s. But yeah, they're just up there with like bolt action aught sixes, like your grandpa, just rolling around with a dog sled. And I'm like, dude, that sounds super dope, but I'm sure it's miserable.
Oh, I'm sure it's hella scary.
Dude, I mean, for sure, especially like in the wintertime where it's just dark 24 hours a day,
Oh yeah.
and you're like, was that a Wendigo?
Dude, you have to go get some Windissy.
Dude, I would actually be super curious to see like what kind of things. We got to do like a cryptid episode one of these days where we just come up with some bullshit.
A cryptid episode of what do you mean? Like how so?
Like you know what cryptids are, right?
No. What's that?
So like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness
Oh,
monster,
okay.
Mothman, like mythical creatures, right? Those are
Yeah.
called cryptids, like the chupacabra, things like
Yeah.
that. Right? So the dog man, things like that.
I know it's real, dude, because I got me some Windissy.
Hey, just like that dude said loud in the last episode, you're not a real Alaskan unless you've had a sexual encounter with Bigfoot.
Unless you got you some.
Hey, you don't think about dudes with big feet. So
The pros. You know what
hey,
they say about big feet.
with that, on a side note, hey, for everyone listening, um, are pretty stoked to announce that we actually have developed some merchandise, and it will be available in the very near future. So stay tuned for that.
Very near future.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. Is at the time of this recording, I am waiting on the link to officially. We recently bought the domain, so we're waiting on everything to sync. So at the time of recording, it should be ready by the time you listen to this. It should be good to go. So I am going to put the link to the website in the description. Check out the merchandise, see what you think. Give us some feedback. If there's something else you'd like to see, if there's something else you want, we are open to feedback. We are here for you guys. Let us know. Support us. Your money on there gets you something cool. It also helps support us. Again, being able to do money towards audio and video type stuff to be able to increase the quality of the podcast. Also, if you join our Patreon, which will also be linked in the description, there will be discount codes now and moving forward for merchandise available to people in our Patreon, as well as a few other perks. And we're open to hear feedback as well to see like if there's something you guys specifically want in return for donating to Patreon. So we have a few things up already, and you can see how else you want to what you want from us. We want to make this a two-way thing. Like you're helping us out, but we also want to give you guys exclusive stuff, and we're open to see what is it that you want from us.
Yeah, but something that is going to tickle your fancy, baby.
Yeah, what gets you to be a little more mid-tier?
What's going to get you to be a little bit more open? I want to
Like your leg. Yeah, exactly. I want to crack it open like a peanut butter cup.
What the fuck? Jesus Christ, man. I take it back.
You're like, I don't want any. I don't like it.
That was molesty.
Just like my gym coach. But yeah, guys, I'll put the link will be in the description. It should be midtierthoughts.com. Again, at the time of recording, everything's taken to sync. It might take a day. So if you're hearing this on Monday, it should be good to go. If not, give it a day. Revisit midtierthoughts.com. It should be up and running. We actually have quite a cool, good amount of merchandise. We got some shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve tees, phone cases, water bottles, a few other things. Again, if there's something on there that you guys are like, man, it'd be super cool to have this, right? Let us know. Hit us up on any of our socials. are on here on the podcast, there should be a spot for Q&A. And hit us up on Patreon. We want to produce better stuff for you guys.
Absolutely. If that's what you guys want.
Yeah, exactly. And if not, then so be it.
Yeah, fuck you. If not, fuck you.
If you like the way it is, then I guess we won't don't fix it if it ain't broke. So with that being said, guys, it's been a great one. It's been good to be able to just kind of get some stuff out in the open there. I know this was a little bit different than some of our other episodes, but I think we just kind of needed to throw that all on paper. So it's been a good one, guys. See you on the next one. Thanks for listening to Midget.
Later.